mid-50s, he said, Bangabandhu wrote, great achievements need great sacrifice. Great achievements need great sacrifice. I am aware that many of our SPMs, ASPMs and the team members made great sacrifice for successful completion of their projects. They have worked very hard and made significant contribution to enrich our knowledge. Here we have selected only 10 for oral presentation. Although I am sure there are many similar projects, but again, due to time constraint, we could not invite them to present here. With these few words, I will now invite our first speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Bahadur Rahman, CP07. He is from Bangladesh University of Agriculture, and the title of his project is Strengthening and Expansion of Postgraduate Research Capabilities for Development and Production of Inexpensive Livestock and Poultry Vaccine. Professor Rahman, please.
Honorable Chairman, Honorable Vice Chancellor, distinguished professors from universities, welcome to my presentation. Sub-project presentation titled Strengthening and Expansion of Postgraduate Research Capabilities for the Development and Production of Inexpensive Livestock and Poultry Vaccine. The Department of Microbiology and Hygiene was established in 1961 with the University of VAE. Then the departmental research strength is 70. The funding is funded to 297.7 lakh from HECEP. Main objectives of the projects: modernization of the lab, procurement of equipment and instruments to strengthen postgraduate research capabilities, development and efficacy evaluation of the livestock and poultry vaccine, and establishment of public-private partnership or commercialization of the vaccines. These are the objectives. Major activities performed under these sub-projects: lab and livestock and poultry vaccine research and production center of the department innovated, equipment procured and installed, technician and postgraduate student skill improved, inexpensive livestock and poultry vaccine developed, and BAE JMI Vaccine Limited collaboration for commercialization of the developed vaccine. I will show you some of the lab modernization activity before and after HECEP. These are the lab: bacteriology, virology, immunology, vaccinology, tissue culture, food microbiology, and so on laboratories were modernized under this project. The left panel show the lab before the HECEP project implementation, and right show the modernized laboratory with the HECEP fund. These are the departmental some facilities also modernized under this project. This is the livestock and poultry vaccine research and production center, which has been modernized under this project. These are the modernized facilities, and from this center we are producing two vaccines. One is the Bow cholera and Bow salmonella bivalent, and we have already generated more than 1 crore BT data from selling these vaccines. Now, equipment installed. Some of the equipment which is procured and installed under this project, sub-projects are, these are the equipment. This facility is now widely used by the faculties and others. The faculties, postgraduate students and researchers are using the equipment extensively in the research purposes. Training. We arrange training for the postgraduate students, faculties as well as the technicians. 197 participants are in the different training, and these are some training activities which we are doing. This is the training class undertaken by the faculties. Now, these are the certificates given to the training. Lab visits. Honorable member, Professor Mohibur Rahman sir, and the HECEP team, they frequently visited our activities and monitored the project. These are some activities. Now, most important part is the research, vaccine seeds and vaccine development. In Bangladesh, we have 358 354 animals, for which we need approximately 276 crore of doses of vaccines. Now the country has the capacity to produce only 21 crore, that is 70.84% of the total need. And deficiency is the 254, that is 92%. For this reason, we are trying to develop the vaccine from our local seeds. Vaccines developed under these projects are EDS 76 vaccine, trivalent FMD vaccine, killed fowl cholera vaccine, killed Newcastle disease vaccine, killed hemorrhagic septicemia vaccine. We have also developed vaccine seed from the duck plague and salmonellosis. This is the egg. EDS 76 vaccine is very expensive in Bangladesh and 100% imported. 1,000 doses required 5,500 taka. These are the eggs which look like that if the chicken, if the hens infected with the EDS virus, thin-shell egg and also the egg production is substantial. These are the research activities we have performed for the development of the vaccine, gene sequencing and submitted to the gene bank. These vaccines, its look we have compared with the imported vaccine Nobilis, and this is the BAO vaccine, and the antibody titers are almost similar to the imported vaccine. This is also the another one. This is the our developed BAO vaccine, and this is the imported vaccine. And we have seen that after vaccination, in both groups, the production remained almost unchanged, very productive. But in the control group, the vaccine production reduced from different percentages. Now, trivalent FMD. This is one of the most important diseases of the livestock in poultry, which cost approximately 125 billion US dollar losses per year, in addition to many other losses. These are the FMD infected cattle, the sample processing for seed and vaccine development, and cultivation of the viruses in the cell culture for vaccine and seed development. These are the research activities, typing of the serotypes, and phylogenetic analysis, that is genome analysis of the viruses for vaccine development. This is the O type, A, and Asian. We have the 3 trivalent vaccine. We developed the trivalent vaccine. Now this is the vaccine and then vaccination campaign. And BAO1 and BAO2, we have developed the 2 vaccine, and we compared with the Indian Raksha and France after vaccine, and also the vaccine produced from the government and one private organization. We have found that our vaccine is very effective and high potency. It looks like that titer is very high in comparison to other vaccines. This is the BAO1 and BAO2 vaccine. SNT, serum neutralization test, is the gold standard state for FMD. Now, we did the protein protection test. We found 100% protection when we use our vaccine, whereas in the non-vaccinated group show the 100% disease in guinea pig, controlled environment. Now, fowl cholera, it is the devastating disease of the chicken and the duck. We developed very good vaccine against these diseases. These are the organisms causing the fowl cholera both in the chicken and duck. These are the research activities we have done in our laboratory. Now, protection, we found the 100% protection in our vaccine. In comparison, only 20% challenge bird survived the challenge experiment and 80% died. Now, Newcastle disease, one of the deadly diseases of the chicken, and we did the vaccine. These are the research activities we did in the laboratory. We also have adapted in the cell for the cell culture vaccine development. These are the phylogenetic analysis, and finally we found that these are the our developed vaccine, and we compared with the Intervet, internationally recognized vaccine, and we found that in all the cases 100% protection. So it's a very good vaccine. Hemorrhagic septicemia, one of the deadly diseases of buffalo and cattle. And we also developed a good vaccine against this disease. This is our vaccine. And we found the titer, the less than 16 is the protective, and after 90 days we found 88, that is several times higher than the protective titer. Now field visit. We have to visit frequently the field for the vaccine activities. Some of the pictures being our team, our postgraduate student faculties, they are visiting from different parts of the country for this work. And we have thesis, 4 MS and 4 PhD students we produced from this project, and 155 students graduated. obtained MS degree, and research article 8 in foreign and 10 local, and patents 4 under process. These are the international collaboration, sustainability of the project, all equipment in good condition, being extensively used by the postgraduate student research and the researcher, maintenance cost, self-proceed fund of the LPDRC, Microbiology and Hygiene Department, we are generating the fund, and the industry collaboration with the JMA Vaccine Limited, and we are going to commercialize the vaccine. Acknowledgement of World Bank, Ministry of Education, UGC, HECEB, and so on. Thank you all for your patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rahman. Thank you very much for keeping time. Thank you. A word of advice to the presenter. Please don't address, you don't need to address the audience. I have already done that for you. So you have only 9 minutes. I want you to use 9 minutes. Thank you. Our next speaker is Sharminara. Sharminara is Assistant Professor from the University of Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology. And Sharminara will speak on, her CP number is 96.
SPM, I am going to present CP096 titled as Development of an Ultrasound-Based Elasticity Imaging System for Early Cancer Detection, conducted in the Department of Tripoli at Kuwait. Okay. Let's first introduce the management team of this project, which comprised of Dr. Muhammad Kamil Hassan, Professor, Dr. Muhammad Imamul Hassan Bhuiya, alternate SPM, Dr. S.M. Mahbub Rahman, Professor, and Dr. Muhammad Ariful Haq, Associate Professor from the Department of Tripoli of Kuwait. This project also included radiologist and breast surgeon from Dhaka Medical College and Hospital, Bangabati Sheikh Mujib Medical University, and Hina Medical College and Hospital. The approved budget for this project was $121.3 thousand US. We received a total amount of $119.5 thousand US, out of which $130.9 thousand US was spent, and the rest of the amount was returned back to the HECEB bank at the end of the project. To implement this project, the equipments that were procured include an ultrasound machine with research facilities and elastography software, one online UPS laser printer, multimedia monitor, and an experimental panel. As we know that breast cancer is the major killer disease among women around the world. According to statistics, 1.5 million women are affected globally in the year 2010. 1 in every 8 women develop breast cancer in USA, and around 15,000 women die every year in Bangladesh from breast cancer. Thus, this project was aimed to improve the non-invasive diagnosis of breast cancer and reduce mortality rate in Bangladesh. To implement this project procured an ultrasound scanner with research facilities to acquire in vivo data from female patients with breast mass. The other objectives were to develop new methods for elasticity imaging for cancer detection, to study the efficacy of this new method, and finally to develop a combined automated diagnostic system combining ultrasonogram and elastogram and demonstrate the benefits of elastography in cancer detection to the medical professionals of Bangladesh. So why elasticity imaging? At present, the available breast imaging modalities include MRI, mammography, and ultrasonography. Among these, mammography and MRI are expensive and not easily accessible in a country like ours. Furthermore, mammography has radiation hazards, and this is not effective for patients below 45 years. On the contrary, elastogram can be done using the same ultrasound machine, and the complementary information from elastogram when combined with ultrasonogram can improve the diagnostic accuracy. What is this complementary information? This complementary information refers to tissue stiffness. As malignant tumors are stiffer than benign tumors and benign tumors are stiffer than the background, the radiologist can diagnose more accurately malignant tumors from the benign ones using elastography and ultrasonogram combined. which facilitate the early detection of breast cancer and reduce unnecessary biopsies. The question is, can we measure tumor stiffness non-invasively? The answer is yes. We can measure tissue stiffness non-invasively through elastography. Elastography actually measures the relative tissue stiffness, which is translated into the contrast of the image. That is, harder tumor appears darker and softer tumor appears white in elastography images, and in that way we can differentiate harder tumors from softer ones. So, we developed new elastography algorithm for detection of breast tumors, and benign malignant classification was done based on this new developed algorithms. Before discussing the outcomes of this project, let's have a quick look at the statistics of the research data acquired in Kuwait Medical Center. Around 300 patients were scanned for free of charge under this project, who were diagnosed with different breast diseases like fibroadenoma, carcinoma, mastitis, tuberculosis, etc. The patient age ranged from 13 to 75 years with a mean age of 30 years. The research protocol was approved by the Institution Review Board of Kuwait, and the patient consent was taken prior to use this data in research. This is a video of an elastogram and ultrasonogram. The right one shows the regular conventional ultrasonogram and left one shows the elastogram. As we can see that this is the image of a malignant tumor, and as we can see that the necrosis inside the malignant tumor is not differentiable in ultrasonogram but differentiable in elastogram. So the radiologist can use the complementary information for both modes simultaneously to diagnose the malignant tumors more effectively. Here we present the result of our new developed algorithm. This one is the conventional ultrasonogram image of a breast tumor, and this one is the image produced using our algorithm. The size and margin of the malignant tumor is more distinct in elastogram than the B-mode one, that is the conventional one. And this is the image of an abscess in ultrasonogram, and this is the same image produced using elastogram employing our developed algorithm. So, the features from ultrasonogram and elastogram again can be combined to accurately diagnose the abscess and malignant tumor, and this way we can reduce unnecessary biopsies, and we can say that bimodal imaging is more effective. Here are the results produced on the benign malignant classification. We can see that the independently elastography is achieves higher sensitivity but lower specificity and accuracy than the independent ultrasonogram. But when we combine the ultrasonogram with our developed algorithm, the achieved sensitivity is 98%, accuracy is 98%, and specificity is 97.93%, which are obviously higher than the result produced by the independent unimodal imaging. So, bimodal imaging is achieved better result combined with the unimodal. Here are some other results, some samples which were some malignant samples which are mixed from ultrasonogram or the FNSC, but which were properly detected using the elastography. So that way, these patients were diagnosed at the earliest stage of their cancer, and we could save lives. Finally, as we mentioned in our objective, that the knowledge that was gained through the successful completion of this project was shared with clinicians, radiologists, and breast surgeons. And in order to do so, a seminar was organized at Kuwait at the end of the project, and the seminar was attended by a large number of radiologists, clinicians, and academicians. And the advantage of bimodal imaging and diagnosis was emphasized in the seminar. Finally, the research outcomes were published in several internationally ranked journals. A total number of publications from this project is 9, with 2 international conference publications. And in summary, we can say that ultrasound-based research facility is established at Kuwait. Because of this project, undergraduate and postgraduate degrees have been awarded, and cancer was detected at an early stage for several patients and thereby assisted in saving lives, and benefits of elastography has been communicated to medical professionals for cancer detection. In conclusion, we need to think about combined research to implement the engineering analysis in medical diagnosis and treatment. Thank you.
Thank you, Shamin. Thank you very much.
Fortunate to coordinate our sub-project activities. And if okay. So here is the project activity that is done. So implementation period as it belongs to into 2 sub-projects was for 3 years, and we could fortunately successfully implement this within the stipulated time of 3 years. And the budget was, you know, that the maximum budget was 442 million Bangladeshi taka. Because of its success, and we could justify that we need a cost escalation, and we could have the escalated budget, and we could also finish the total amount and did not have to refund any money to the HACCP. I would like to divide the presentation in several components, as you can see here. First of all, I would like to show the objective which we start when starting the work, the proposal. We started with the general objective. Main objectives was to equip the research laboratories with the state-of-the-art modern equipment to really be capable of characterizing of all the materials, and to enrich professional skills and capacities of students and academic staff, to enhance quality of research, achieve a series of technological objectives, and most importantly, to transform the postgraduate research through introduction of advanced fundamental research directed towards realistic application, and to have university-industry collaboration. And to implement the project, we had to go through several activities. We had the aim and the goal to establish 5 different laboratories with different functionalities, like to prepare some binary and ternary complex materials, to have some work on supramolecular chemistry, to prepare and characterize nanomaterials, biomaterials and polymer composites, to electrochemically study different materials, and finally to apply novel and functional materials for smart applications like smart textile or drug delivery system, etc. And we could procure a set of instruments, which some of these are only one in Bangladesh, and say for nanoparticle size analyzer, that is in our subcontinent, maybe we have only several, 4 or 5, and we are very proud that we belong one of such state-of-the-art instrument in our materials chemistry research laboratory. And we have actually been gathered here to show some achievements. Let me show some achievements first. So I would like to show some of our publications. Using the research facilities and expertise only of our laboratories, with the support of Academic Innovation Fund through HACCP, we could publish 40 research articles in different journals, most of which belong to international publications. And I would like to show few here. This is an article from Journal of Electrochemistry published by Australia. This is a publication from Royal Society of Chemistry. The impact factor is 3.84. Here is another RSC advanced article, Electrochemica Acta. It has an impact factor of about 4.2. So most of the articles I mentioned actually have impact factor at least more than one. We could also have some awards, very fortunate time for us actually, because we could have, using our published results, we could have UGC award twice. I was the successful winner in 2011 and also in 2013. We could have our management team members could also win this award in 2011, 2012, and more importantly, our students, researchers, when they participated in national conferences, international conferences, they could have many national and international awards for oral and poster presentation. And we could have very strong collaboration around the globe. We have collaborations with many universities in Japan, Nepal, India, USA, Germany, and I already mentioned about India. We would also start collaboration with several industries which might be interested to use our materials for different applications. Our students are very fortunate to have training not only inside the country but outside. You can see a training workshop which was held in Delhi, India. We sent our students successively in 2 years. And we attended many different national and international conferences. We could organize many seminars and workshops covering all the fields of material science. And now let us show the prospects. We did many things, we procured instruments, but do the materials we develop have any prospect for some applications? And to show this, first of all, I would like to state about some novel systems. In our laboratory, we established some novel systems, which you can see some fibers here. We collected these fibers from a textile industry, and you can see this is the conventional method where in aqueous system, the dyeing capability is very low, and after washing it becomes fade. But if we use, say, our developed micellar medium, we can have the bright color which even after repeated washing does not fade. So this will be very catalytic treatment, and we can save wastage and also at low cost and relatively less time, high production can be ensured. And we have many new functional materials which may be applied for smart applications. You can see core shell nanoparticles here. So core shell nanoparticles, this is a type of material which has multifunctional characteristics in a single material. That means since it is in the nano form, if we fabricate it in a nano dimension, then this will give the multiple properties in a material like some fiber, and this may have the prospect for smart applications. And this is our recent success. We have collected some waste effluent impact from a textile industry. You can see in the leftmost figure that this is the color when it is collected, it was in such form. When it is discharged, it has this color, but when they treated it with some polymeric coagulant or some mechanism, this becomes colorless. But we collected this and stored this for 1 week. The color just reappeared, and it has the polymeric coagulant, and it becomes even more dangerous than the original one. Then we tried to do some research on these activities, and we have seen that through application of electrochemistry, we can treat it and the color never returns back. And it is very cost effective, and only the material we need is air. So it is abundant, and it should be applicable to textile industries or other dyeing industries very soon. And here are some other applications. This can be used for drug delivery, smart textile by nanofabrication, novel system for electrodeposition, and for phone raising. So I am in the last phase. So what is our vision? I just look back to say 1996 when I completed my graduation. At that time, I had the dream to do higher studies. I in fact got the opportunity to go abroad. And at that time, I was afraid that could not learn many things from my department. I did not have the opportunity to handle many instruments. But now, when I am standing here and when our students are going abroad, I can see that they are well skilled. They are using state-of-the-art instruments. They are capable of interpreting very complicated data, and they have themselves published many articles in international standard journals, and they are contributing to the human capital of Bangladesh. And the mission is therefore to develop smart materials which can be used for innovative purposes and which can help for sustainability of our nation. And that is the goal. That is the goal which we in the team are working for a long time. And we want to continue with the support of academy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Sushant. Thank you for sitting in for me. Our next speaker is Professor Dr. Muhammad Anwar Hussain. Dr. Anwar, CP number is 236 and the title of